You are listening to the Pencil and Paper Podcast Network.
I'm Katrina, and I love anime.
I'm Steven, and I'm aware of anime.
But what if that affection could rub off?
Perhaps that excitement in her eyes got me curious.
I could offer up some solid anime.
I could give them a watch, just to see what all the fuss is about.
And maybe, just maybe,
I could learn to love anime too.
Welcome to Inspired by a Weeaboo. Hello everyone, and welcome back to Inspired by a Weeaboo. I am your host Katrina, and with me is my husband Steven.
Hello.
We just finished episode 42 of Fullmetal Alchemist. Steven, what did you think?
Not expecting this episode to play out the way it did.
Yeah, a lot happened. A lot.
A lot. So, from where I guess we ought to start where the episode started, was where Kimberly had kind of turned Al into a bomb.
Mm-hmm.
He's kind of laying on the ground, and Scar confronts Kimberly about what he's doing, and Kimberly's like, haha, you can't undo this, blah, blah, blah. And just, you're screwed, what have you, and all that. So, Kimberly says that the transmutation will occur slowly to give Al time to pretty much think about his death before he dies and killing everyone in the process. And as Scar just kind of working out what he needs to do, Lust appears and reveals that, he can't really undo what Kimberly has done.
Mm-hmm.
So he has to come up with another plan. So instead, Scar, actually, I don't think that happened right now, but I'm trying to stay within the context of the scene. I don't want to get ahead of myself. So anyway, can't do it. Ed's going to have to be the one to reverse it, is pretty much what she tells her. But Lust is also trying to push Scar to continue his work with the Philosopher Stone. Mm-hmm. That he needs to forget about Al. He's a lost cause at this point. And Scar can pretty much, not that I don't think he ever felt like it was this way to begin with, but he's pretty much, she might look like his brother's fiance, but it's pretty much like, this is not the same woman. She's cold and heartless and all that shit.
Yeah. Now,
back in the sewers, where we were last left off with Ed, we kind of do the recap of, the crying baby, Wrath attacking and all that, and Ed leaping. But now it continues, and Ed leaps on top of Wrath, knocks him down, tells him to run, or tells Rose to get moving. Mm-hmm. He is also faced by Sloth again, trying to be like, hey, I'm your mom. Come give mommy a hug. And it's like, you really think that's going to work? I was literally like, you seriously think he's just going to be like, you know what? You are my mom.
Right.
Come hug you right now. So she tries to pull that psychological shit on him, but he's not stupid. Wrath tries to attack him again, and he does this really cool thing where he gets Wrath's arms tied down and then takes the spear and then pretty much locks them together using transmutation to kind of latch them together down to one another.
Yeah.
So I thought that was a really neat way of kind of disarming, if you pardon the almost pun. But anyway, Ed's trying to come to the realization that they probably created, or knowing that they created her, Sloth, during, or something happened, whatever happened, like we said, where it was, he's pretty much responsible for her being there just as much as their sensei is responsible for Wrath being there. They're responsible for all this shit, them being there. Anyway, I don't know what I'm trying to get at. Sloth attacks Ed with the water thing, and he kind of turns it to ice, and then does some things with his sword and swish, swashy, swash, all that jazz. She transforms her form to look kind of had what's her name? The other one, the one that we were just talking about, it's with Lust. She kind of has a lusty look to her now.
Yeah.
But her marking is kind of on her left shoulder.
Yeah.
As opposed to like right in the middle of her chest.
Yeah.
Or whatever. Anyway, they both try to attack Wrath and Sloth, try to attack Ed once again. Then he uses transmutation, kind of makes the ceiling fall in on top of him, crawls through, and then runs out with Rose to try and get clear. Now, obviously, he knows that's not going to kill him, but it was just enough for him to get away. And then Ed kind of mentions that Rose got her voice back, and he's happy to hear that she's speaking again, like she's found her voice, as it were. Now, back at the military outpost, Archer is pissed that he's not heard anything, and he's down with Tucker in his Chimera lab or whatever the fuck. And then Mustang, Hawkeye, and Armstrong show up to confront Archer and Tucker, and Archer pretty much lays out, what they're doing.
Yeah.
And then Tucker sicks the Chimeras out on everybody.
Mm-hmm.
And explains that they were planning on using the attack as what we all know, the war plan to paint the people of Lior as bad people and whatnot and do a whole new Ishbal thing.
Mm-hmm.
Meanwhile, Bradley and Gluttony are watching from the inside as Archer is dispatching his troops, and he comments about Lust letting her emotions get in the way of their mission, wishing that, she could just let that part of herself go and, do what's asked of him, I guess. And back in Lior, Scar is talking to Lust and admits to her that, she's nothing more than a fleeting fancy of this person that he once knew, but she's not that person. And she is like, well, I could become that person. It's like, no, you can't. You're not her. You will never be her. You can't bring the dead back to life, period. End of story. And at that point, Scar's trying to work out what he's going to do. So he puts the locket onto Al's armor. Then he puts his hand on Al's armor and transmutes the incomplete Philosopher's Stone onto Al.
Yes, his arm.
His arm. So now he has no arms.
No.
Now Al's armor is now tattooed pretty much like the arm was in a way. And that in turn nullifies what Kimberly has done. So now he's free and clear, so to speak. But at the same time, now I noticed this and I was curious, Al was not getting back up.
No. Like his armor was still compromised, but what he did at that exact point didn't technically change Al's armor. He just kind of put everything into Al, and then where he left and went to complete the transmutation circle, which is where he fell, right where he had dragged the rock and everything. That's what completed the transmutation circle, which is what set it off. Then for changing his composition to where it saved him.
Gotcha.
So that's why Al didn't get up and why he was still turning black.
That's what I was curious about. So it was just like he knew he still needed to get it finished.
Yeah, it's like the first step.
Yeah.
He just had to complete the final step to actually save Al. So that's why he was trying to get there so desperately and everything. Right. So.
Well, anyway, you jumped ahead quite a bit, but we'll get
Sorry.
to that. But anyway, the reason also he put the locket onto the armor, he said it was just to prevent her from getting to Al.
Yes, Lust wouldn't be able to get close to him. Because
of the hair that was in the locket that belonged to the one girl and all that jazz. So anyway, as all that's happening, Ed gets Rose and Lyra kind of out to the outskirts, tells them that they need to get moving and don't worry. he's going to try and figure something out because he still wants to stop Scar. And they're just like, you're not going to turn him in. He's like, but it's like you see him struggle for a minute. It's probably the most humorous moment we've had in this show over the last 3 episodes in a while. And even then, it wasn't that over the top. It was just more like him, like, I've got to do this, but maybe I can think of another way. Like he knows he's trying to do good, and he's between a rock and a hard place, as it were.
Yeah.
Anyway, Scar, he is trying to finish out what he's doing. He chucks Kimberly's corpse as bait. How he did that, I guess he had Lust help him, because I don't know any other way. I'm just sitting there imagining him dragging him with his teeth or some shit. So he chucks Kimberly's corpse out for Archer to see, kind of like bait. And then the troops swarm in because Archer's like, how dare he think he's going to kill a state alchemist? I'll show him. And as they are running in, they start trying to track them down. Scar and Luster running through, and this dumbass, and maybe he had a reason for it, but I still feel like he's being a dumbass. The troops spot them, go to shoot Lust, and Scar jumps in front of the bullets. And I was like, what are you doing, man? You know she can't die.
Well, like he said, his body moved on its own, because at the end of the day, as much as he wants to be like, you know, you're not her, all that kind of stuff, she still technically, in a sense, is. She would not exist if it was not for that woman.
Sure.
And his brother.
So he does the stupid
like the baby
thing.
they never got to have.
Yeah. So he does the stupid thing and jumps in front of bullets for no good reason, as far as I'm concerned. But anyway, I get it. And they move off to another building to try and wait out the soldiers getting by. And during that time, Scar kind of makes it clear to Lust that he hates his brother for what he did. And turning his back on everything that they'd ever learned in Ishbal. And just the fact that all this shit is pretty much because of him, if you think about it.
Yeah.
So he's just angry at him and hates that all this has come down because of his brother's stupidity. But Scar makes it clear that he, seeing Ed now do what they're doing and how they live for each other, made him realize that he really did love his brother despite the hate that he had. And he tells Lust that she needs to go. And before he walks out, she asks what his name is. And he said that person died long ago. So we never got a name. And I was like, oh, we're finally going to get to hear it. And it was like, nope, we're just going to hold that from you again. And I was like, shit. So she bids him farewell. He walks out. I thought he got shot there for a minute because you start hearing, you know, gunfire and people shouting. And I thought, well, they're not just going to kill him off screen, are they? That's
no.
But Ed confronts Archer as all this is going down, who tells him to chill the fuck out. And of course, Archer's not listening. He's like, it doesn't matter. Or we're going to go take him down. Ed blames his obsession with all this obsession with glory of being the king, badass. Then word comes down the pipeline that Scar was sighted. Archer decides to head in and find him and do all that. Scar declares himself that he has no concerns with life anymore. He lays down on top of his transmutation circle, and everything starts lighting up. I mean, everything. And then suddenly, everyone starts going up in dust.
Just, disappearing.
Everyone who's within the transmutation circle starts getting sucked in and destroyed and dying. And I was not expecting that to happen. I was like, oh shit, this is really happening. But again, I know we're near the end, but I still don't feel like we're that far. I feel like we still got a ways to go. So I was just like, holy shit, all right, we're doing this now. Meanwhile, as all this is occurring, Mustang, Hawkeye, and Armstrong are fighting off the Chimeras, trying to get out and trying to get. Well, they're not in that area. They're still
No, they're still in the town that's kind of close to it, but not right on top of it. They're close enough that that Fuhrer Bradley was able to see Leor lighting up.
Right.
So
Mustang's unit shows up and they explain what's going on. So they all kind of bail out. Ed sees some of these dumb soldiers trying to run in toward the red glow. Like, what's happening? And he's like, what are you doing, you idiots? And puts up a big shield to protect them from dying. And once it's done, they kind of just explore, and he finds it's a big surprise that Ed stumbled upon Al as quick as he did. I was really surprised by that.
If you notice that once it was all gone, there was literally nothing but sand left.
Yeah.
Like nothing.
Mm-hmm.
You can see a few buildings kind of in the background, which you just assume were too far out of the radius for it to wipe it out. But as far as everything else that was there, just ceased to exist.
Mm-hmm.
So I think the only reason he found Al was because that was the biggest lump of sand. So he just assumed somebody was underneath it, which thankfully it was.
Yeah. So he sweeps off the dust and finds, or pretty much just sees his head. And then Al kind of wakes up, jumps out of the sand, and he's like, back up, no, I'm going to explode. And then realizes he's perfectly fine. He doesn't have any markings on him. He doesn't have the black... I guess we didn't really talk about that, but when he got turned into a bomb, if you will, his armor started darkening. And you could kind of see it creeping up on him. So I'm assuming once he went full black or full dark metal or whatever, he would explode. So that was kind of the timer on it. And so all that's gone. He looks like he's back to normal. And they start talking to each other about what's been happening, because Ed is confused. He's like, I'm fine. I'm back to normal. And he's like, Scar did this thing, and then I was going to be a bomb, and then it was not. He's like, okay, you say. It's fine. But as they kind of catch up, Ed kind of realizes what happened based on everything that he said. And he asked Al to open up his armor, and inside is just a big red glowy light. And he realizes what Scar had done. He had turned Al into the Philosopher's Stone, pretty much. And Lust appears from behind and confirms that, yes, that was his plan all along. And they're going to have to watch their backs, because everybody's going to be after them now.
Yep.
Because they are the thing that they were after. Or at least one of them is, anyway. And
well, both sides. The military's after the true Philosopher's Stone, and the homunculi are after the true Philosopher's Stone. Even though I know the military still technically ran by the homunculus, but still.
But Ed asked Lust, is like, well, why aren't you coming after it? And she didn't really say anything, but then Al produces the locket, and he's like, and they put it down, and they just kind of leave us hanging. It's like, well, this is where we're at now, so what's happening?
Yes, they finally obtained the one thing that they had been searching for all these years.
Now, here's my big question, because this is the thing that popped in my head once I saw what had happened. Wouldn't Al technically be able to transmogrify his body, the armor? I mean, he is...
I mean, one would think, yes.
He is the Philosopher's Stone, so why not transmogrify and become human again? I mean, that's where I'm thinking, because he's got the ultimate power right now, if you think about it. And that's the whole purpose they were doing what they were doing. He could transmogrify the arm, transmogrify the leg, he transmogrify his body, and then bam! And then they could just be like, oh, we don't have the Philosopher's Stone anymore. Sorry. It doesn't exist. Whoops. But we're fine. We're going to bail out.
But they want to get their real bodies back.
But wouldn't that be getting their real bodies back? Couldn't they technically...
I mean, they would have to take the limbs from Wrath and then get Ed's body from the gate. Or Al's body from the gate. Like, they want their legit bodies back. They don't want fake bodies. They don't want, homunculi type bodies. They want their bodies.
Okay, well, I guess I was just looking at it from, because the Philosopher's Stone is so powerful, I just thought it could do all the things without really doing transmogrification of sorts.
No, it'll let you do a lot of shit. And
But-
we'll find out more when, we continue on with it.
Yeah, but like you said, they want their real.
Yes,
Bodies.
they want their OG bodies back.
All right, well, I guess we're just going to have to wait and see what happens from here. Because the moment I saw what he had and the ultimate power he now wields, I know he wouldn't use it for bad, but
Oh, no.
they would have every reason to use for what they were after, and they've got the way to do it now, so just do it.
Now they just have to figure out how.
Yeah, I guess this is the house. So now we've got 9 more episodes. Let's see.
8 or
3,
9
4,
more
5,
episodes.
6, 7, 8, 9, maybe.
Something like that.
Something like that.
But I'm excited because in just like 2 more episodes, we finally get to meet their dad.
See, it's dragging that on too. Like
I know.
I expected we would have seen him a lot sooner, and they're going to wait until the ass end of the show before we actually get to see him.
Yeah, that's the only suck part.
Well, it's all right, though. As long as it's, they're still telling a compelling tale, and you can't waste time now. There's no point. You're already
definitely can't waste time. You're in the home stretch.
Yeah, just get it over with. Be done.
Yes.
Tell us what you got to tell us. And like I said, they've not been wasting a moment. So everything's been just a whirlwind of things happening over the last 3 episodes. My God.
Yep.
So much has happened. So many people have died.
Yeah. So many people have died.
Yeah, a lot of big characters too.
Mm-hmm.
So we lost Archer in this episode.
Yep.
And
Scar.
Scar.
Mm-hmm.
And wow. Yeah. So
Well, we didn't technically lose Kimberly in this episode. We lost him in the last episode, but still.
I still feel like we count it in this episode in a way. I mean,
Yeah, I guess.
he still was kind of mumbling at the beginning of this episode.
Yeah.
But
Still.
But yeah, 3 pretty major characters up to this point. And, good riddance to Archer, too. Cause,
Yeah.
Fuck him and his arrogant little ass
Yeah.
ways. They didn't get Tucker, though.
No.
Yeah,
They did not get
sneaky
Tucker.
little ass snuck out.
Yeah, he's a cockroach, too.
Mm-hmm. All right, well, anyway, I'm done. I don't know what more to say about it. It's so close.
I know, we are so close. Well, I would hope by now all of you know, where you could watch this lovely
you've been
podcast.
listening all this time.
Yes. So, go check us out.
Mm-hmm.
And we're going to get on to the next episode.
Thanks for joining us. That's all I can say.
Thanks for joining us. And we will see you next time.
This has been a Pencil and Paper Podcast Network production.